Hey guys, this is Graham from therecordingrevolution.com, and welcome to another edition of 5 Minutes to a Better Mix, where we're looking at 31 mix tips in 31 days. Last time we talked about gain staging. Right now I'm going to talk about mix bus compression. This is usually one of the second things I do in a mix. I've got no real plugins happening, no real mixing happening yet, just an overall volume, maybe some panning, getting the right conservative level going to your mix bus. Now, what I like to do is put a compressor on my master fader. Okay, every DAW, every digital audio workstation has multiple tracks, whatever you've recorded or edited, and they all are going to dump to one stereo track of some kind. This may be called your mix bus, your master fader. The idea is the same. They all get summed into one stereo track, which then goes to your outputs or your speakers or your headphones. What the goal here is put a compressor on that master fader, which means it will affect every single track in your mix. Every track will be running through this compressor. Every track will be compressed slightly. But what happens is it gives a uniform compression to all of your tracks, because I'm going to compress things individually. I'm going to EQ things differently. I'm going to do a lot of crazy things in my mix potentially. But the one constant is they're running through this same compressor. A compressor does exactly what it sounds like. It compresses things. It turns down peaks. I've got a whole couple of videos on this on YouTube. You can check them out. But the goal is to turn down some of those peaks in your mix, which reduces the dynamic range. Okay, so the range of volume isn't going to be as big. And then you can bring back up the overall level just a hair. So what you're doing is just squeezing your tracks together in a narrower dynamic range. I'm not talking about serious limiting right now. I'm not talking about almost even audible compression, just a little bit of compression. It will glue or gel your tracks together. Now, this isn't a magic fix, but this is a great thing to start. Put it on your master fader now before you do any mixing. So then your mix decisions will be made by the way it sounds through the mix bus compressor. You will be making different decisions because of the way it pushes the compressor. And I think in the end, that gives a nice, exciting, gelled sound to the end of your mix. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to take an empty insert up here on my master fader, and I'm just going to grab your basic compressor. This one comes free with Pro Tools, but any DAW you're working with is going to have a typical compressor. And what I'm going to do, you could start with a preset, but what I'm going to do is just stick with this 3-to-1 ratio for now. I'm going to press play. I'm going to adjust my threshold so I start to see the gain reduction that I want. And what I'm looking for is maybe -3 to -6 gain reduction. Maybe that's too much for you, but I want to see the compressor pulling no more than that down. And I'll see it making sure it's catching just some of the peaks. And then I'm going to bring up the overall gain here just to boost the overall level back up a bit, and you're going to have a nice gelled sound. This is subtle. This isn't going to fix anything, but this is going to start my mix off right. Here we go.
Fortress, I will not be shaken through the fire and storm.
So you could hear it even there. I'm really compressing it a lot. You could hear it at the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dial down the ratio and adjust the threshold a little bit. So in general, you have to just play with it. I started at a ratio and a threshold. I pressed play and I started to hear the compressor really squashing down on these tracks, and I don't want that to happen. So I dialed the ratio down, maybe 2-to-1, dialed the threshold up a little bit so I'm not catching every single peak. And what I got was a slightly compressed and a little bit more even mix using this simple compressor on my master fader. Now, when I go ahead and start making all my mix decisions, it's all going to gel nicely through that compressor. Of course, you can make some adjustments as you need to. You might get louder drums when we start to compress those. We might get louder levels in general. You can always come back and tweak, but start with some mix bus compression on your master fader and you will get a little bit more gelled of a sound. The only caveat here is watch out for over compressing. Like I almost did here, you can really suck the life out of your mix. So I'm going to encourage you to play around with it. Don't just take settings off the internet. Don't just copy what I'm doing, but experiment with a mix bus compressor. This is an old thing. People have been doing this for a very long time, and it really will help gel your mix together. Okay? This is Graham at therecordingrevolution.com with 5 minutes to a better mix. We'll see you on the next video.